Hey, broads, it's your girl, Queen Shan Shan, on a broadcast podcast, and I am back with new tea. But this tea tastes a little different. I was asked by many of you to talk about what is going on in our new world, the COVID 19 world, and how many people are experiencing this new way of life. We will be interviewing all sorts of people on this podcast and practicing our social distancing while I call on them and have some really in depth conversations. From mothers to fathers, from teachers to doctors, nurses to businessmen and women all alike. What is their take on how they're living in the coronavirus era? So sit back and relax, and thank you for listening to Abroad. Hey, Brad, this is your girl, Queen Shan Shan, and we are back with another audio podcast for your hearing pleasure. We have a really good treat today. We have Miss Melanie Palomares, but we call her Dr. Mel. Hey, Dr. Mel.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on this call, and thank you for being a true broad. We are so excited to hear what you have to say in this interesting time of our lives during the COVID-19/coronavirus era. Let me ask you one question for sure. How are you really doing? What's going on with you?
I'm really doing great, and that's to be honest. You introduced me as Dr. Mel. What kind of doctor? I'm an oncologist, which is a cancer doctor. And it's a time that we all can be grateful for our health, and I certainly have my health. So I'm grateful for that as I face cancer every day, and then now the COVID-19. So I'm doing great.
Yes. So you are a medical oncologist, an epidemiologist, and a geneticist by training, right?
That's right.
And
you know what that even means?
I have a lot of clients in the county who are epidemiologists, and they're actually analysts, and so I have a lot of clients that actually are in that field, and geneticists actually. But you practice preventative oncology. What does that actually mean? Tell the audience, what does that mean, preventative oncology?
Yeah, so I serve really two types of people. One is a cancer survivor who has completed all their treatment and they want to prevent ever getting a cancer again, because they're at risk not only of recurrence of their cancer, but also a new cancer. And what happens is once someone's diagnosed with cancer, it's kind of a wake-up call. And so they're usually pretty motivated to prevent cancer. But my favorite group of people, not that I love my cancer survivors, but where I really feel like I'm serving is when I am able to motivate the healthy person to get ahead of disease and to prevent cancer before they ever get a diagnosis. It's actually possible to do.
Okay. What are you've been nearly you said in your notes you've been about doing this for 2 decades, so 20 years as an oncologist. What are the what are the facilities that you've been working at? Can you say that what facility you've been working at the last 10 years?
Sure. Well, initially I was at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center in Seattle. That's actually where I trained, and I went back to grad school because there was no training program for preventive oncology. So I did some extra training at that time in epidemiology and genetics at the University of Washington. And then I moved down to Southern California. That's how I've met you, and joined the faculty at the City of Hope, which is a cancer center in the LA area.
Real quick fun tidbit. I met Dr. Mel 3 years ago when we went to the Italy trip. Is that correct? It was the Sorrento / Island of Capri. We went to the Island of Capri, which is amazing.
Yes.
I always get it confused. Is it Capri or Capri? People pronounce it differently, but it was 14 days or 12 days of this amazing trip to out of the islands in the Amalfi Coast, and got to know you then, but really got to know you on the second trip, which was last year, and that was what's wrong with me? Remind me. Or was
it was Sicily and Malta, so we were back in Italy again.
That's right. It was now.
Yes.
That was not last year. That was 2 years ago too. That was 2015.
2 years ago.
Oh
That's
my goodness!
Right. Last year I went on a separate trip. I didn't see you on that one.
That's right. You were in Greece, so I was in Malta, and we went to Sicily, and I just loved that trip. I mean, Malta and Sicily were absolutely fantastic, and I pray for them every day. Italy has been hit so hard with what's going on with the coronavirus, and they had enormous numbers of cases and unfortunate deaths. But it just came out, we found out that the U.S. has now surpassed their numbers.
Yes, they're starting to plateau out finally.
Yeah,
but we're still going up.
Yes,
I actually have colleagues in Italy, other oncologists that I work with, so I check in with them pretty frequently.
Well, this brings us to the first bullet point on my list that I wanted to ask you. We're dealing with very emotional, hard times today in these last 2 weeks and in the next coming months. And with that being emotional, that means stress. And with that means stress, that can bring other diseases and sicknesses to us. You wanted to talk about stress management, and I think that's incredibly important. So in today's time, and in notes that you said, it is unprecedented. We are definitely dealing with unprecedented stress. We are worried about ourselves. We are worried about our families. We are worried about our jobs. We are worried about going outside and just going to the grocery store, getting gas, doing things that we have done on a regular basis our lives without even thinking twice. And now we literally have to think twice about certain things and packing groceries, getting our mail. Some people need to not think they need to wash their shoes off before they get into the house. I mean, there's so many new precautions because this disease is graduating on an hourly basis. What are your recommendations and how we can help with stress management? How we can relieve and breathe? What tips do you want to share with us today?
Sure. I really have kind of 4 tips, but just to echo first what you said, a lot of it is we were basically in a state of where we were taking our activities of daily living for granted, and then a huge change was introduced. And that happened to be COVID-19 in this case. And it's affecting everyone in the globe. So it seems like a really big problem, right? Well, similarly, for a new cancer patient, they have also been served a big curveball, and their whole life changes. And so we do have to deal with stress management quite a bit. So to answer your question, I find that there are 4 main steps. And so first of all is to get really clear first. It's like often when it's a big scale thing like this, we're just afraid, and it's really hard to pinpoint what are we afraid of. So first getting really clear on what am I fearing. Is it my physical safety? Is it my family or my community safety? Is it my financial well-being? It might be a little bit of all of those, but like to pinpoint what are they and what do you want to focus on right now. That helps narrow the stress so that it's a little bit less overwhelming. And then what happens is that when we're faced with a new stress, some of it is very, very, all of it feels real for sure, but some of it is factual. And then some of it is sort of more of a trigger. So people will sometimes say it's in my head, but I don't mean to say it that way because then it sounds like I'm trivializing it, because it's not trivial at all. But again, some of it's factual, and then some of it's very emotional or trigger-based. And to try to divide that out and how much of this is really factual. And then for the part to deal with the emotional part, It's like, well, what? You can play games, and so with your mind, and say, okay, well, what if this wasn't true? What would that feel like? And by doing that, you can kind of trick yourself and pretend, okay, what if this wasn't as big of a deal? What would that look like? And try to encourage yourself out of the big hole. And then for the sort of factual side of things, then you can narrow that further by thinking, okay, what's under my control then? What can I do about it? And focus only on what's under your control. So then the last thing is to think about what is the hidden opportunity. So often when I'm giving a lecture, I start out with what people think about the word cancer, since that's always my topic. And often the audience will talk about, they'll bring I say one word, and they'll bring up kind of a negative word. And if nobody in the audience changes it around, I'll change it around. But often there isn't a cancer survivor in the audience, and they'll say, a wake-up call or opportunity, because it's true. Like every crisis has a hidden opportunity. In fact, the Chinese character for crisis is the combination of the characters for danger and opportunity. So the last step is to always look for the hidden opportunity.
That is wonderful. I
so glad.
have been through all 4 of your questions personally, because I have been fearing a lot of things. And I think before I had the call with you today, I had another call with Hallie, and she's a type of healthy, mindful, mental health guru. And she had some great points about the fear that we're having. And we talked about continuity and moving forward and being mindful. One thing that's definitely got my goat is, even though I work from home, I was always in the field. I was always visiting clients. So yes, I worked from home, but my office was outside. Now I have a new environment to where I literally now see the 4 corners of my wall every day. And so I go to bed late now, and I wake up late. And then I'm fixing that to where I'm putting my alarm back on at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, because I was waking up at 8, 9 the other morning and think, well, that was a weekend. Waking up at 10 on the weekend's not bad. But I was waking up at late last week, and I said, no, Shannon, no, this cannot continue. You have to be back on your regimen. And at night, what would happen? The thoughts would run in my head. And God, if I got the disease, what's going to happen to my parents? If what happens to my parents, and I can't see my parents, and then my brother, and if I don't make this kind of money, how am I going to pay the bills, and how am I going to take care of my parents? So that's my fear. That's one of my many fears. Dr. Mel, is the unknown, and me and 500 or 300 million Americans, we're in the same boat. So, what would be my hidden opportunity at this time, in your opinion?
Your hidden opportunity? Based on what you just said? I would say to focus on being present.
Okay.
So what you were just saying was all about fear of an unknown future. And the truth is that none of us know what our future is. We make all these plans, and how often does everything roll out just as we planned it, right?
Yeah.
And the truth of it is like none of us are really under control. We think we are because it feels safe, but we really aren't. And so I don't know if you've ever heard of Kyle Cease. He's a transformational guy.
Kyle?
I'm really into personal, Cease, C-E-A-S-E. I'm really into personal development. And so one of his things is that when you fall in love with the unknown, then you're really free.
Yeah. If that means you got to let go of a lot of things. That's a lot of
and it's a journey. It's a journey.
That's a journey. Let's get into another type of journey, nutrition and mindful eating. Now, real quick, if you don't mind sharing us your personal way of getting to where you are today. Can you just share us your personal goal, your personal story in within about 2 minutes, and what derived you from that to today, please?
Oh, yes. So I said what my background was, and I was a faculty at City of Hope and really at the peak of my career, and doing great as a director of a clinic and independent research program. And then something very sudden happened in my life. So all this advice is not coming from book smarts alone. It's actually through my own practice. But when that happened, I had huge levels of stress, gained weight, my blood pressure shot up, and I was really depressed and overwhelmed. And it was really in my own journey back to health, it took time. I happened to start with my physical transformation, and then later it became more the mindset transformation. But it was in that I now feel I have even more to offer people, because it's not just my training and the book learning and all that kind of stuff. It's also a personal journey. So it turns out that, to get to the answer to your question, it turns out that there are a lot of pieces, and so the mindset part is actually really tied in with the nutrition part, because, for instance, emotional eating is very, very common, and stressed eating is very common. And so I'd say step one is sort of getting around to being very mindful about your choices. And then you can think about what are those choices. So a lot of times, because I do health coaching, people are focused on what to do, and it's just as important as how to be or how to think. So you wanted to ask a question there?
I do want to ask a question. Brand new situation. We have a lot of people who are not used to working from home. They get up in the morning, they get their cup of coffee, they shower, they're dressed, they're out the door with a cup of coffee. That's their breakfast. Then they go to work, and then they will get a donut, they'll get a croissant, they'll get something that the kitchen had. They'll go to Starbucks and get another cup of coffee, and then get a Danish or whatever. And they work, they're working, and then lunchtime comes, and then they bring their lunch, and so, or they go out to lunch with friends, and then that's an hour and a half of eating, taking a break. Then they go back to work, 5 more hours, and then they go home, and then they have dinner. Now, I think part of this pandemic that we're going to experience, and I'm going to be part of that too, is that we're now at home, and we are available with so much crap in our kitchen.
That's right.
The last 2 weeks, the U.S. has experienced hoarding. So everyone's buying all the toilet tissue, and everyone's buying all the food, and everyone's buying all the cookies and the sugars, and they want to make sure they have enough food and toiletries for their family and themselves. That being said, all on Facebook and all on Twitter and all on Instagram, I'm seeing amazing recipes, people who don't even cook for themselves anymore, which is wonderful. I'm glad they're cooking, because they have to stay in anyway. But they're making cakes, they're making pies, they're making beef Wellington, and they're making, it looks just so amazing, and it just makes you hungry when you look at that. And you're like, I can make that too. And so what I've been doing is making unhealthy choices. Let me tell you that. I'm not going to lie. I've been making unhealthy choices because the food is so readily available to me. I have a 5-feet commute. I have a 5-feet commute to my dining room. I have a 5-feet commute to my kitchen. And if I'm hungry and I'm stressed, and this is the part, Mel, this is the part. I have a bad phone call with a client, or I found out that someone got terminated, or I found out a client is sick. My job is very emotional. I'm very emotionally attached to my clients. And so what do? And I just see myself. I go to the kitchen, I look in the refrigerator, and then I want a snack. And it's not always a good snack. It's not fruit. It's not a vegetable. It's something with cheese. It's something with bread. It's something that crunches, because it's that crunching satisfaction that I want. How can you help me, plus millions of other people out there, who are dealing with the same type of stress, mind, eating? It's like I'm a robot. I'm stressed. I want to go to the kitchen. I want to make myself something to eat, and then I go back to work. Where is a gap that you can help us eliminate, or an obstacle that we can eliminate and cut that pattern?
Yeah, so I really wish I had a simple answer, but these are learned behaviors. Just like a smoker has faces stress and they smoke, or a drinker faces stress and they drink. So it's very common, especially sugars and fats, because they're comfort foods, that when we feel stressed, we go to those. And so the best thing that I could recommend is health coaching, because you have to break those behaviors, and it does take time.
And you are
so
a health
really
coach
the best
yourself.
thing I can say. I am.
Wonderful. Let's for sake of time, I wanted to talk about the 5 key. You put here in the notes 5 keys to healthy eating. Can you explain each one of those real quickly, please?
Oh yeah. So I wrote these in mind for the virus actually, but they would apply for I guess avoiding disease in general. So first of all, you want to avoid refined sugar. So this means like table sugar, which we put into our cakes and coffee and that kind of a thing. And so you'd want to opt for natural sources. The best natural source is fruit. So for instance, in paleo eating, they use only fruit to sweeten their cooking, like raisins, for instance. But also you could go to, for instance, for coffee, you could go to honey or agave. But you're going to natural sources that provide sweetness.
Then your table sugar. Got it.
Correct. So that's 1. 2 would be to avoid salt. And the reason, and I mean excess salt, so you can use a little bit, but particularly people that have high blood pressure, when you're put into a stressful situation, the blood pressure is even more high. So that's why I was saying for the virus itself, you'd want to avoid that. With sugar, sugar can impede our immune system. So I was thinking again for the virus, good eating for try to boost your immunity and that kind of thing, and not increase your blood pressure. So as far as the salt, you can try alternate seasonings. Easy would be Mrs. Dash. Not it's something that's so easy, but since you have time, you can experiment with, are some anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer spices such as oregano, rosemary, and turmeric.
Yes, I absolutely cook with those
Yeah.
all the time. And there's a reason why the East Indian culture, the African culture, has less high blood pressure issues and less diabetic issues, because they cook with these spices every day.
That's right.
Every day.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So Mediterranean diet also uses like a lot of rosemary, and then, like you said, South Asian, like India, and also Southeast Asian, like Thai, they use a lot of curries, which include turmeric. So there's lower cancer rate in those areas. Yeah. So then the third one would be to avoid processed foods. And the point I wanted to make there is that now there's a lot of packaged foods that have like marketing phrases that make it sound like it's healthy, but really the healthiest thing you can do is to cook from scratch.
You got it.
That's the only way you really know how much salt, sugar, and fat are
Absolutely.
The fourth is to eat more plants. Plant-based diet is the healthiest diet that we can have, and there are other good types of nutrition programs that are along a spectrum, but if you were to go for the best kind, it would be the plant-based kind. And so think of roots, leaves, like leafy green vegetables, fruits, and nuts and seeds. These are all pretty great.
And what is your fifth point?
And the fifth point is to be mindful. So we were kind of talking about that already. So think about what are you about, before you pop in your mouth, think about what are you about to eat? Why are you about to eat it? Are you really hungry? Are you just bored or stressed? And then when? So also our insulin cycling is every 2 to 3 hours. So you actually do want to eat every 2 to 3 hours. but you don't want to eat more frequent than that.
Exactly. What I've been doing, to be honest with you, because of the evening, I'm single and I'm here by myself. Some of the when you're watching the Netflixes and the Hulus and the Amazons, and I'm involved in a great flick or I'm watching a great series, I want to tend to snack, and so I go to the kitchen or I want to make some popcorn. Again, it's that salty or maybe not really sugary, but that salty crunch. I definitely have cut up some more carrots. I've cut up some celery, and I definitely have been making my own hummus. And I really love hummus. Yeah, I really love hummus. So the carrots and the celery satisfy the crunch. Is that really satisfying the saltiness of it? But it's definitely better than getting some bags of chips. And honey, I'm a chip girl. You just can't have one. I love my chips. Me and my mom love.
Yeah, another tip you can do both when it comes to watching movies or not having structure in our day anymore, like you were saying, is to set your alarm. So to set your alarms for every 2 to 3 hours that it's time.
That's a great idea. So because for the sake of time, I wanted to ask you, because again, this is a topic that's on everyone's mind, the coronavirus. And since you're a doctor, you deal with cancer, and now you're dealing with people who are asking you about the coronavirus. And in your notes, these are the 2 dirty C words in our current times. It's funny you said that, the two dirty C words. What are the similarities or the key differences between cancer and the coronavirus that you can share with us right now?
Right. There's several. So to be brief, I can say the most important ones is that prevention is really key for both of them, and that both are preventable. And a large part of it has to do with behaviors. Not all of it. I mean, right now we don't have a cure for the coronavirus, but we will. And right now we have a cure for some cancers, but it's much more successful when you catch it early. So knowing your risk is actually really key, because the screening and prevention recommendations are based on risk. And just like with the coronavirus, where you start with a few cases, and then it shoots up, if you think of within your body, a cancer cell actually starts from our own normal cell, and it mutates into a cancer cell. And it can live at low levels without us even knowing it. The likelihood is most of us, not to scare everyone, but most of us are living with cancer cells in our bodies. But it doesn't mean that it's a problem until it does become a problem. Our screening doesn't usually catch it until it's about a marble size. By then, there's already 100 million cells there. So the real key is to be preventing while it's still invisible, just like with the virus. We're being told that people can be infected and not have any symptoms, and we're doing all this preventive behavior. Well, the same sort of thing. The key with cancer is to know your risk and start intervening before you realize you have anything. Act as if you do. Does that make sense?
That totally makes
sense. Yeah, because it's likely that we do. Yeah. I'm going to be talking about that in more detail on the 10th, April 10th. And so if any of your,
What's going on April 10th? What's going on April 10th, Dr. Mel?
Yeah, so to adapt to the whole coronavirus thing, I have a lunchtime lecture series that I've converted to be online now. We did our first one just on Friday. And I'm going to continue doing this every 2 weeks on Fridays at lunchtime. And if any of your listeners are interested in joining us, they can just go to Facebook. The name of the group is Dr. Mel Talks Health. It is a public page, so they can just request to join. And
can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, Dr. Mel Talks Health.
Dr. Mel Talks Health. Got it. Okay.
Yes. And so, just request to join, and we'll be posting register for the next one. It's on Zoom.
Okay.
So, and if there's one that you've missed, we'll also put replays. We're a little slow on the tech side, but when they're ready, we'll have replays on there as well. So,
what is your email if
yeah.
people want to reach you? What is the email address they can reach you at?
Yeah, so I founded something called the Cancer Prevention Movement. Very excited about that. I'm trying to reach more people in the general population to encourage people to prevent cancer before they have it. And the email for the Cancer Prevention Movement is health@cancerriskprevention.com.
Health@cancerriskprevention.com. I also noticed that there is a phone number that they can call as well.
Yes, our phone number is 833-END-CANCER. So that's ENDCNCR or 363-2627. So to repeat, it's 833-363-2627. But the easiest way to remember it is 833-END-CANCER.
Do they get to directly talk to you on this phone? The phone number?
Well, they have to leave a message and then we'll get back to them.
Got it. So we have April 10th to the 4th to you guys. Put that on your calendar. You are obviously available on Twitter, you're on Instagram, and you're on Facebook too. What is your Instagram handle?
Instagram is at Dr. Mel Pal, DRMELPAL.
And your Twitter?
That's on Instagram. Twitter is at MelPalMD, capital MEL, capital PAL, capital M, and capital D. And on Facebook, that's the Cancer Prevention Movement, and it's abbreviated Can Prevent Movement.
Wonderful.
We can.
And I will, of course, market that, make sure that this is on all of my social medias after this podcast is published, and the public can be able to listen to this podcast so they know where to reach you and how to reach you. And they will actually know. Let's talk about the real quick why. Why should they connect with you, Dr. Mel?
Yeah, so I know today we've been talking about COVID-19 because that's the timely thing, and I do have a lecture coming up on it, but my main thing is about cancer prevention, and it turns out that cancer is now the number one cause of disease-related death in California. It's number 2 in the U.S., but 40 to 70% of them are actually preventable. And I don't think people really know that. I think they think more like there's nothing they can do or that they don't need to do anything. And so I want to encourage people that there is something you can do, and what there is to do is to first know your risk profile so that we can be strategic about it. So I actually offer consults that allow people to understand what their risk profile is, and then we design together a strategic risk-based screening and prevention program for you. The way to start down that road, we actually have a free cancer risk assessment quiz on our website, which is cancerriskprevention.com. And you would just click on your cancer risk at the top and take a 10-question questionnaire. And from there, if you answer everything 100%, then you'll get a congratulations email. But if it looks like we have more to talk about, then you'll be invited to speak with me.
I think that's wonderful. And it's free.
Yeah.
You know, and even though COVID is on everyone's mind, when this subsides, the regular world still has all these ailments that we need to face. And cancer, like you said, is the number one ailment in California. What would you say? Disease-related death, I should say, in California.
Yes.
And then
so more people have it than die of it.
I know.
So more,
that's right.
More than that.
I have a very good friend. I have a very good friend who had breast cancer, and she still is dealing with the side effects and has cancer in her body. She needs to do hormonal therapy. So sometimes you just don't get rid of it. It's still stuck in your body, but it is the way on how to prevent it from spreading and keep it maintained as well. So I just want to say,
Oh, you need to wrap up?
No, I think we do wrap up. But what was your last point? What was your point?
Oh, I was going to say that the published data is that the average cost, this is relevant for you, for what you do, the average cost of cancer diagnosis in just the first year is $150,000.
Girl.
Medical bankruptcy, financial toxicity is huge when it comes to cancer. And so prevention is so important.
You are preaching to the choir, honey. As an insurance agent, I sell a cancer plan, and we are educated on all those stats on a yearly basis. We sell this amazing product that actually helps prevent a lot of the financial mishaps when clients are ever diagnosed with cancer, and how this policy is designed to help you financially to get through that many times of cancer treatments. Look at this. We already have a built-in commercial already for my business. Thank you, Russ.
Well, yeah, I think that's great. At the same time, though, there's non-monetary costs. You can imagine the fear and the anxiety and the discomfort and everything. Yeah. So prevention is key. Prevention. We should work more together about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, again, we need to cut this. And I just say thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy person. I have a question real quick. Because you're a doctor, and doctors are definitely expanding, or their times have been expanding, and they need more doctors on the front lines. Are you ready to be called out to certain hospitals if they need your assistance in helping with the coronavirus victims and patients?
Yes, if I'm called, of course I would send.
Absolutely. You're ready to get into you're ready to be a soldier out there in the front lines, huh?
Oh yeah. Actually, when I was training, I liked critical care medicine, believe it or not.
You did? So, you liked it? Was it the rush? Was it the
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
But I'm sure it was exciting. So I wanted to say, on behalf of anyone out there who has suffered a loss, who has suffered an illness, an accident, the doctors in our lives are safeguards. You know, you save us, you help us feel better, you help us get better. And the data is ever changing in terms of this virus, and the data is always ever changing in cancer treatment as well. I'm sure you can attest to that.
That's right.
We are a growing society. We learn every day. But the thing about what I taken away from this conversation that we had today is being on the forefront of prevention. And I'm a big believer in preventing a lot of these diseases by just taking care of ourselves, our minds, our bodies. And what I do like, you did put a bullet point is to love people. We need to love ourselves, and we need to love people, and that helps get us together.
That bullet point is one of the pillars of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So the lovely thing is that physicians are starting to get it.
Yay!
And we're thinking in greater health point of view, and not just being reactive to disease.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Mel. We appreciate you. Did you have a good time?
Yes, of course. Always a good time with Queen Shan Shan.
Thank you. And Rod, this will be up on the podcast platforms very, very soon. I'm doing the editing, so this is a learning curve for me, so bear with me. We're going to have lots of great new episodes coming your way. Thank you, Rod, for listening. Thank you, Dr. Mel, for being here. And as always,
thank you.
And as usual, thank you for listening to Abroad. Thank you, Dr. Mel.
Bye-bye.
Hate to see you leave.